So, welcome, you guys. I think most of you know me, but in case you don't, my name is Chloe Ballatori. I am a communication and relationship expert. I'm a graduate of Princeton University and Pat Allen Swan Institute. I've written 3 books on this subject. Um, How to Live, Find Love, and Keep It is my first book, and that has all the basics of this work. Um, my second book is New Ways of Being, The Pain of Change, because once you start doing this work is meant to provoke a catharsis. So once you start doing this work, you start to go through pain because any kinds of change, even change for the better, causes pain. And the brain rewires itself on pain. And so my second book is really about navigating change once it starts. Um, because even when our dreams come true, it can be really uncomfortable, just because it's unfamiliar, right? And for those of us who've had trauma, a lot of times when we do get what we want, we spend most of the time worrying about when the other shoe is going to drop. So I help people sort of break that as well. Um, and my third book is Secrets to a Good Marriage, What is Love? All of those are available on Amazon. And I'm going to put my credentials into the chat right now so that if you guys do want to do some more research when this is over, you can. Okay. You can check out my website. I put original content usually up on Instagram and TikTok every day. I also teach this work a few times a year. We just started our module 1, so I won't be doing that again for a while, but you can still try and sign up at that link. And then, if it fills up, maybe I'll do it faster. Okay, so what is this work? What am I talking about? I use tools that I learned from Pat Allen, who was my mentor, and she created a system called called androgynous semantic realignment. And I also use tools from Eric Berne's transactional analysis. Um, since I've been doing this work for 10 years, or over 10 years now, I have created several tools myself as well. And so I use those. Now, this work is all based on pretty established scientific and psychological scholarship. But what's new and what's unique about this work are the tools to execute on that scholarship. And this is what is really the secret sauce. This is what really gives you a level up when you start doing this work, is when you start understanding the dynamics of masculine and feminine, also known as yang and yin. And the yin, yang, yin, that philosophy, that is, thousands and thousands of years old. It was funny, actually. I was watching Antiques Roadshow and I saw a Native American blanket that was being presented, and asked to be valued. And they were talking about the different designs, and this blanket was, probably 300 years old. And they were pointing out, even in this blanket, the qualities of yin and yang in the color scheme. So, I'm not the first person to recognize this stuff. But like I said, what's unique are some of the tools that we have to execute on this scholarship. Okay, so what is the scholarship? What am I talking about? Masculine and feminine. Well, who cares? Okay. The most successful relationships, including the relationship with yourself, are those that are balanced, specifically balanced between masculine and feminine energies. Now, that's just the nature of what we're dealing with here on this planet, right? And everything on this planet is kind of organized around duality. We have night and day, we have pain and pleasure, we have change and stasis. And a lot of times people complain that, um, they don't want to have pain or they don't want to have negative emotions. Sometimes people will come to me and say, how do I stop having negative emotions? if you want to have positive emotions, then you're going to have to get used to having negative emotions as well. Okay. So it's not like we're trying to get rid of things, but we're trying to bring ourselves into balance so that we don't have what are called dystonic reactions that don't serve us and end up sabotaging our relationships when what we want to do is support ourselves, right? And to ultimately to get what we want out of life. Um, so what we're looking for is this balance between masculine and feminine in the relationship and in yourself. Now, this balance often gets thrown off by childhood trauma. And so that is what I also help people with, is sort of navigating the effects of childhood trauma, because anything that happens between the ages of 0 to 12 will have a greater effect on you than anything that happens after that, because of the critical windows of development that occur during that time. So, that's why they compare oftentimes the trauma of combat veterans. I mean, people who have been in some of the most violent situations in the world with child abuse victims. Both of these groups have PTSD. Now, the good news is we can recover from trauma. This is, we've known this for 20, 30 years probably. We now know that the brain is plastic and it can change. Freud did not think that. He pretty much thought we were cooked by age 3 and definitely by age 12. But we can change. It's challenging. It requires repetition. And it takes a little while. Ultimately, it takes longer than you want it to. And it takes a lot of awareness and courage as well. And it's not the kind of courage that you get, blue ribbons for, but the rewards are basically freedom from triggers. Triggers, which are always a hearkening back to some older event. Okay, so when we talk about masculine and feminine, I want to give a brief definition, then I'm going to open it up to questions. But I want to give a brief definition first, because there's a lot of misunderstanding about these terms. And look, one's not better than the other. Sometimes people are like, oh, why does that have to be called feminine? Or why does that have to be called masculine? These are just the terms that we have in the English language. So if you don't like feminine and masculine, you can use yin for feminine and yang for masculine. And those are a little less charged terms. But when we talk about feminine, what we're talking about is the right brain, the artistic brain. This is the side of us that is feeling. This is passive, patient, vulnerable, the world of sensuality and spirituality. This energy is in the world to make it fun, but it's not of the world. It's like air, flowers, okay? It's receiving energy. Then we have the left hemisphere of the brain, which is the logical, linear, single-minded thinking world, versus the other side, which is more the feelings world, right? The thinking world, this side, the masculine, we're often in our masculine side when we're at work, because it's competitive, conquering, controlling. Our masculine is giving, nurturing, taking care of. This energy, masculine energy, is very much of the world, and a good metaphor for masculine energy is bricks. Okay, so these are the basic definitions of feminine and masculine. We are all of us both. As women get older, we become a little bit more masculine because of hormone drop-offs. As men enter andropause, they become a little more feminine because of hormone drop-offs. However, every person is unique and different, and so it doesn't matter really. There are some women who are just naturally very masculine, and there are some people born with penises who are very feminine. So it's not like you have to be masculine. It's not based on your organs, it's based on what your authentic energy is. And if you know the yin yang symbol, there's that slope in it. So you know that this energy is always in flux. And it's kind of like the particle and the wave of physics. You have both properties kind of happening at the same time. When yin energy maxes out, it becomes yang. And when yang energy maxes out, it becomes yin. And that's signified by those two dots that are always in the opposing colors on the yin yang symbol. So people who have a very strong feminine side and a very strong masculine side, who are often having arguments between their heart and their head, these are really what are alphas. Like when we're talking about alphas in a psychological sense, alphas are not bullies. And that's what has sort of, colloquial become known as alphas. Alphas are really people who have a strong feminine side and a strong masculine side. And so this work is very appealing because it helps us, it gives us a rubric for decision making, and specifically for awkward situations and conflict resolution. And that's where this work really, really shows itself. I've found this work myself when I was about 10 years into my marriage. I'm now 20 years married. And when I saw what it could do, I actually saw the results of it before I even learned what the work was. And I saw incredible results in my neighbor whose whole life turned around in like 3 years. She got a great job and she got married and all of it. And so I just thought, God, whatever she's doing, I want to get me some of that. And then when I started the work and I started learning about it, I found not only was I really good at it, but it was so gratifying because you really do see results. You get homework, you see results. And it's not just like going to a therapist where you talk about your problems and somebody listens to you and maybe they agree, maybe they disagree, but nothing really ever changes, and all of us need to be heard and to be seen. And so that is valuable in its own right, but it's not that helpful over the long term if you want to see changes in your life, because seeing changes in your life really does take active effort and a lot of awareness. Okay, so now I'm going to open it up for questions. You can raise your hand, you can put a question in the chat. It can be anything about relationships, about friendships, about family. And as you guys know, I love to hear your updates. Okay. Hi, Lee.
Hey, can you hear me okay, Chloe?
Yeah, I can hear you. How are you? Good to
Hi
see you.
there.
Good to hear you.
You too. It's good to see you and hear you and everyone else here. I had a question for you about your thoughts, on when you meet someone, letting it sort of just unfold organically, letting a connection. I mean, I'm not saying not to use the methods and tools that you share with us, but I'm saying, what are your thoughts on just kind of letting things fall into place when you're meeting some people? Because I have learned a lot about myself, as you know.
Mhm.
I've learned a lot about myself. I've had some very positive, powerful changes in the last year and a half, largely thanks to you and a couple of other meetups I'm in. And but also just real life stuff that I go do. And so what I'm finding, Chloe, is I like to take my time. I'm not like a lot of these alpha men that are constantly chasing tail. I'm really more like the Sigma guy, the lone wolf type guy. And I really like to take my time to get to know a woman, because my traumas have been from the dating apps. I think I shared that.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting about this is about a month ago, if you can believe this, COVID finally got me.
Hmm.
After all this time, I finally caught the stupid virus. And so I was out for a couple of weeks, just recovering, taking care of myself
Right.
and isolating and doing my duty to help prevent other people from getting it. But my energy's back now. I feel better than ever. And I'm getting my strength. Remember, I think we talked about how the signals to look for and how it was a little overwhelming for me because
Mhm.
I was getting a
Yes, yes.
very
Once you
positive
started
response.
seeing the signals, then you
I
were a
s-
little overwhelmed with the intensity of
yeah,
it.
I'm like, oh my God, I completely missed that. I mean, of course, that was exactly what Chloe's talking about. But here's the deal. So I'm getting my strength back. I'm able to see the signals. I'm meeting people, some people in real life, and I'm having a nice time, but I'm not pushy. I'm not, how do I say this? I don't want to necessarily follow a script,
Mhm.
but when I say, when I approach people, but I'm just curious to know your thoughts about letting something unfold organically, taking your time to just casually get to know people, because there's a couple of people I'm talking to in these social circles I'm involved in, and I don't want to seem pushy, and
Okay. Okay.
I'm kind of getting my space too with it. What are your thoughts on that, as opposed to just jumping in? And
Okay. So a
thank you.
couple things. So first of all, I want you to recognize how
Mhm.
different you are. Because when we first started, like over like a year ago, all you just wanted to do was get a girlfriend. And now you're really like, oh, okay, there's a lot of women out here. So I'm going to take my time. Right. So you've changed a little bit. So that also means, that your strategy is going to change. Do you still want to get to have a girlfriend, or are you just liking?
Absolutely. And
Okay, me too.
just to clarify, when I first came to your group, I didn't want to meet anybody at all.
Right, right, right. You
I
were
was
like,
very
yeah,
reclusive.
right,
I was super hesitant, but
right. At first, you were just a note taker. You were just here to listen.
I was just watching, kind of checking it out. That's right. But then I started to apply these principles, these techniques in my social life, and I noticed it was working. And then but there have been a lot more changes too. But
Yeah.
yes,
And
you're
it's
right.
provoked yeah. And that's what it's meant to do. You start to make changes and it does provoke a catharsis in you and a change in you. But you make some of those changes first, and then,
Okay,
it
so recognize how different I am.
yeah. So okay, so there's that. But I just wanted to say that off the top. So now you're kind of, you're in a different situation where you have women, a bunch of women you can choose from. Are you If you're interested in somebody, are these people that you are already set up to be seeing regularly? Like they're in this.
Yes,
Okay. So
they're
then
in
you
a
don't
social
have to,
circle that meets weekly. Mhm,
okay. So then you don't have to work as hard to see them and to get to know them, right?
exactly.
Okay. So just let it unfold organically. And when you're motivated, I mean, the problem occurs when it's like you're not going to see the person, you know?
Right. Right.
But if, take your time, get to know these women. I think now you have a different set of criteria than you had before, or you know yourself a little better. You know better what you want and what you don't want in a woman.
Mhm,
I mean, I know we've had a few conversations about that.
mhm.
So, take your time, get to know these women. As long as you're seeing them regularly, things will either start to build or they won't build. But nothing's going to happen organically, obviously, if you're never having contact with people. So I think that's fine. Sometimes you can miss your window.
Right. That's, I love that, the way you phrase that. That's hilarious.
So sometimes you can wait too long, and then by the time you make your move, the girl's like, hey, I was interested in you 6 months ago and you didn't do
Exactly.
anything. Um,
That's a good point,
yeah.
and
And be
so,
wary of hiding behind like a checklist,
yeah,
um, which is keeping you from intimacy. You know what I'm saying? Because you could be using it, you or anyone, I'm not saying, but you could be using it as a little bit of a crutch to hide behind, which will prevent you from being in an intimate relationship. Look, if you're looking for perfect, you're going to wind up alone. So at some
that's
point,
right.
you're going to have to compromise. And,
Yes, they're
you
not
know,
perfect. No one,
yeah,
even me.
expect to get like 60-70%. That if you get 60 to 70% of what you want, you're in
Yeah.
good.
I went through this was about 10 years ago. I talked with a marriage and family therapist coaching me through a relationship. And she posed an interesting question to me about the relationship at the time. This was like 10 years ago, 12 years ago. She said, the question to ask yourself, especially as you're getting serious, right, is Is this someone you could joyfully spend the rest of your life with? And I love that question, because I mean, it's like, as I get to know a person,
Mhm.
I guess, like you said, like 60-70% is a goal, that's a jackpot.
Mhm.
There will be no perfect person. I don't want a perfect person. But anyway, I don't want to go on too long here.
No, I think that's good. I mean, ideally, you want somebody who brings out the best in you and you bring out the best in them, and that together you're better than you are alone.
Right. Is she the
Want to be a
complement of
safe,
my life, not the focus of my life, but do we complement each other's lives?
exactly,
You know?
with the E, the
Yes.
complementary energy, and then, being a safe harbor, because the world is can be a tough place, so you want somebody who's got your back, you know,
Well, I
being,
appreciate that. What I'll do is I'll try to, within 2 to 3, I mean, I'm just kind of meeting these people within about 2 to 3 weeks. And I think in another week or so, if I get good communication opportunities, I probably will use these tools at that time.
okay.
Once I feel, because I have to feel safe too, I want to feel comfortable. I can spot batshit crazy pretty fast.
Right. So listen to your intuition, and now you have this work, so you're even like a step ahead,
Yeah. And
and you'll have different insight.
thank you so much. You're a darling. And I have questions about your modules, but I can email you about that.
Okay, that's fine. Or you can ask
Well, I was just curious about, have they started and what's the cost?
yes. Okay. So we just started the module 1 last weekend, and it's $45 a week, and it's a 4-week commitment, so it's 180 total. You can find out more about it, like the whole description, on my website or on my Instagram.
Do you use the video cameras in the modules or not?
Yes, we turn on the cameras.
Oh,
Those are
good.
totally confidential. Everybody agrees to keep them confidential. And
I just dropped a ton of cash. I just bought my first new computer in like 16 years, and I'm dying to use this camera. It's like so nice, this Mac I got. So I'm
okay,
excited.
yeah, sign up. You should sign up.
All
We'll be
right.
starting another one sooner than you know. I mean,
All right. We'll do it. We'll do
okay,
it.
good.
We'll get. Thank you so much. I'll pass.
You are so welcome. And yeah, you guys can learn more about that here, I'll put it. Oh, it's already in the message, but I'll put it in again. You guys can look into that a little bit more, because it's a really good introduction to this work. We go over the basics. I go a little deeper. We have a longer meeting, and then I always work with each person, and it's a small group. It's like 4, 5, 6 people max. Maximum is 6. So yeah, if you're interested in that, it's a really unique way to kind of apply. People like it because you can apply the theory like right in the moment to your life. Okay. Wendy.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. How are you?
Eh, um,
How can I
yeah.
help you?
So I've had 2 dates with this more masculine guy, which was my goal, was to go out with someone more masculine.
Excellent.
And so I'm hanging in there, and the good news is I'm not ending things, even though I'm not having fun.
Okay.
My sister said, let them end it, because usually I do.
Okay.
So that's good that I'm hanging in there. But yeah, I'm not.
Okay, so I would just cap it at 3 dates if you're not having fun. If after 3 dates you're not having fun, maybe maximum 5 dates. Don't keep torturing yourself or him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Don't cut it off right away.
Okay. So, okay, thanks. That's good advice. So yeah, questions about like masculine, feminine. So, and a quick question. So about you talk about consciousness and duality. So like in non-dual spirituality, like we're taught to like observe our feelings, not to cherish them. And
Yes.
yeah,
This
so
is like kind of I'm really glad you brought this up. This is such a nuanced point, and I appreciate your bringing it up. Yes, non-dual life. That is it's kind of it's just a little bit of a semantic confusion. It's not really in conflict with that. Really, to transcend duality, you do need to recognize it first. So the consciousness that comes about from the balance of that duality of the feminine and masculine, that's what enables you to transcend it. Now, if you're talking about, then we get into kind of some other spiritual, so that's kind of what's meant by non-dual life in a general spiritual sense. Now, in some spiritual traditions, you're absolutely right. You get to a point where you just observe things and you don't act on them.
Right.
But that's a very specific kind of life. And I don't think it's the one, I mean, that's not for just like lay people. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, like in meditation, we're taught to just observe and to sort of be non-attached, so certainly not cherishing.
Right. And 100% there is that time for that, to just observe your thoughts. And I really like the spiritual teacher Muji, if you're familiar.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of what I go by. And very much that you are not your thoughts, you are not your feelings, but you are really just the awareness. You're the watcher, right? That comes, that observes that. So, yeah, it's not really in conflict. It's just like a different angle of looking at it. To take any action in life, you have to have that awareness first, so that you make sure that your actions are aligned with your thoughts and feelings. So there's definitely that period. Muji's living like a very different kind of life, and but he still needs to eat food, and he still needs to, he's still married, and he still wants to have
He's
sex.
married?
Yeah. And so, there is that, I think there is that in meditation where you just observe, but then when you're in your regular life, ideally you're taking those observations and then you're acting upon them. It's very hard to affect change in your life without taking any action. And I know there are spiritual traditions in which you just like sit in the mountain and meditate, and you just wait for your student to come to you. And that has its own merit, but that's not this necessarily. And if you feel called to do that, by all means do that. But that's not, I don't think that's above just living a regular life. Or whatever in spiritual traditions, it's often called the householder's life. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of spirituality, or certainly some of those principles about, give before you receive, and some of these aphorisms that come from religion, unfortunately, are largely misunderstood, and so, giving before you receive, for example, that one doesn't really work if you don't have anything to give. And it depends if you're masculine, and it depends if you're feminine, whether or not that's appropriate for you, because men need to do good to feel good, but women need to feel good to do good first. And that's what else I was going to say about some of these spiritual traditions, is a lot of them are very male centric. And there's not always a lot of room for female disciples. But I mean, if you're interested in that, by all means, go in that direction. But I don't think that kind of life is necessarily superior to just a regular life. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Can I ask you about this guy?
yeah, ask me about this guy.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm realizing why I haven't wanted to date masculine men. I'm finding them intimidating, and I'm wondering if I'm just trying to understand like the benefit of like a more masculine man, because what I'm finding is like he's very logical and like, you know, if I don't feel comfortable being
Right.
vulnerable about my feelings because he'll give me some logical
He'll try
response.
to
Like,
fix.
why do I need this? I'd rather have that feminine kind of guy who I wasn't attracted to. I mean, it wasn't working, but I mean, to talk about feelings. And then the other thing is most of the feelings that I'm having are pretty negative about myself. And um, you know, not I don't feel comfortable telling him a lot. I've told him a little,
Mhm.
but not a lot. So
Yeah,
what,
that makes sense because you don't know him yet. um, and so in the beginning, a lot of it is listening and seeing if he is worthy of trusting, or if you think you can build because everybody can be an asshole, but if you think you can build a relationship based on trust with him, do his words and deeds line up? Is he cherishing of your feelings when you do express the feelings that, you do decide to share?
well, what does a man get, a male energy give to someone who's has, you know, female feelings when they're talking about their feelings? I mean, if they're rational and logical, what is it that he would give that would be of his masculine energy that would benefit me? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, it depends on the feeling, if you say you're cold, maybe he could give you a blanket, you know? It depends what you're expressing, and there's that nuance, that difference between feelings and emotions, which are feelings are a little more emotions are a little more transient, feelings are a little bit more deep-seated, um, in general. But
Like if I say I'm insecure, you know, I'm feeling insecure or I'm feeling, you know, ashamed or that kind of thing.
right, well, it
And that,
depends if he can do something or not. If you're feeling insecure because you're underdressed, maybe he can take you home and you could get dressed, right?
no,
Fancy.
it's like I'm insecure about who I am, you know, that kind of stuff.
Okay, so that part, right. I mean, you know, you can express that you feel insecure, especially in relation if there's something that he's doing that has aggravated your insecurity. Um, but if there's nothing he can do to fix it, then sometimes you have to tell a man, well, I just want you to listen. But you're kind of early on to just be telling him, like, I'm insecure, I'm da, 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 you know what I'm saying? If you're just dating. Does that make sense?
Kind of. I mean, I don't really know what to talk about except what's real and alive for me. Like,
Right. Okay. So first of all, you don't have to go with a guy who's only 100% masculine. You should be looking for somebody who is balanced, but is wanting to be in the masculine in awkward situations or conflicts, like a little bit more masculine. You're probably, because you are an alpha and you have a strong feminine and you're really smart, you have a strong masculine side, you probably going to need to be with an alpha who also has a strong feminine and a strong masculine side.
mm,
So he's gonna have to understand your spirituality. You know what I mean? Like,
mm,
he can't just be like a banker who just thinks about money, for example. You know
mm,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
So masculine, that's great. Yes, good. I'm glad you're experiencing that. But you specifically, you, Wendy, from what I know of you, are going to need somebody who also has that other, who is an alpha, who also has that other side as well. So at least that he can understand what you're talking about, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
So see, he may not be leading with that, but that side might come out after a few dates.
Hmm. Okay. We'll see what
Um,
happens on the third and I'll
and
report.
as far as like expressing, that you're insecure, it's true that like a lot of times with men, if they can't fix something, they don't know how to handle it. And so, if that came up out of context, it might be, it has the potential to cause a conflict. So maybe just, you can still talk about, whatever, but, mostly you're going to be listening, you're going to be answering questions. I want you to be authentic. I want you to be honest. If that's what you want to express, then express it. If he starts to go into fix mode, because you don't know him that well, then you just say, yeah, I hear you. I totally hear you. That is really good advice. But I was just letting you know, I'm not actually asking for advice.
Okay, okay, got it. Thanks.
You know, like pray, like give him his respect because it comes from a good place.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
You are so welcome. Thank you for sharing. Very deep questions. I like those. I really appreciate that. Okay. Is Nil here? Nil, I'm seeing your message in the chat. Okay. Good news. I made a phone call to my female classmate and we had a good conversation. Is it a good time to ask her out? You know, that's up to you. Try to steer the conversation. If you're talking about some kind of common interest, maybe you can steer the conversation into an event. Like if you guys are both talking about, you know, rock music, well, maybe there's a concert that you can go to. Or if you're talking about, you know, crystals, well, maybe there's a gem show you can go to. Does that make sense? So try to make it try to work it into conversation in an organic way. And the most effective is either over the phone or preferably in person. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Does that help?
Am I asking out or not?
Well, yeah, ask her out, but work it into the conversation, like make it so what do you guys talk about? You said you're having good conversations.
We are practicing English.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's perfect. So then tell her, think of a good place where you guys could go practice English, either go to a movie or go to a park, you know, and try to translate for each other and say, I have an idea. How do you feel about going to, you know, the park and listening to some conversations and practicing our English or whatever it is? Or going to a restaurant, we can practice ordering, or going to a mall, and we can practice shopping and asking questions. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Try that.
I'll try that.
And ask her, tell her, this is my idea. Don't forget to ask her, how do you feel about that? Okay.
Who feel me?
No, you're going to say to the woman that you like, hey, I have this idea. Blobbity, blobbity, blob. Let's go do this. How do you feel? And then see what she says. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then let me know how it goes.
Sure.
Okay. Excellent.
Thanks.
You are welcome. And, you know, Nil, oh, well, he disappeared now, but he's been on the path. So this is good progress. Okay. Okay, Chris.
Unmute.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chloe. Oh, wow. So I wanted to call. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How's it going?
Okay, good. I came back. This is my second week.
Great.
I am reporting on my homework that you gave me.
Yes.
So I went to a meetup group. So the homework was to go into groups or to expose myself to people so that I can talk with them and maybe make begin relationship.
Right.
Not
Get some
not with
numbers, make some plans.
yeah, just friends, not
Right.
not romance.
Right.
So I went to the one we went hiking in Camarillo, and it was good. I started, you know, pretty positive because I was thinking about it, and kind of it makes you sensitive and aware of what the situation is,
Yeah.
right? So that helps. And then just kind of there was a mix of men and women, kind of my age. I'm 55, so 50s, 60s, 70.
Good.
And yeah, and we started walking, and I started getting a little bit nervous, and then like, uh-oh, is everybody already like, connecting with someone? And then kind of early on, someone that was with two other people slowed down and came over and like started walking next to me. And he was a 45-year-old widower. And we just started talking, and it was really touching because his wife had passed away like 3 years ago. And so he was going to the meetup too, to meet up with people after having been married for that long.
Mhm.
And like, just like, wow, there's other people like me that relationships aren't just about the opposite sex. They're
Right.
right there. It's learning what people are like. And so but that was it. And he talked like a lot. I listened a lot, and I didn't get like super nervous or like offended. Well, like, why aren't you asking me about me? I
Mhm.
I wasn't in that mind frame, but like I was gonna ask. Well, do you want to say anything about that?
No, I think that sounds good. I mean, everything sounds good so far. You know?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I was happy. I'm on the road. I'm just starting, so this was just like the first time. It made me think, maybe for a question, was that when you're talking with people and it seems like they're interested in talking about themselves a lot, that might be okay like once or maybe twice, but do you start wondering, like, is this the kind of relationship I want when
Right.
it's
100%.
just all
So
one
first of
way?
all, I want to give you kudos because it's so true what you said last week. When you're married for a long time, you kind of get rusty at making friends. And one of the great things about being single is you end up meeting a ton of people in pursuit of dates, right? So this is really good that you went on this meetup and you met this guy and he told you his life story. Okay. And it was interesting and you were moved by it. But yeah, of course, like if somebody only wants to talk about themselves all the time and you can't get airtime, ultimately that's going to be really boring. And even if, I find honestly, because you're obviously like a thoughtful person and you not into like too much superficial chit chat. So it's like I really find that if people don't want to like open up, and kind of go deep, or
Mm-hmm.
like be somewhat self-revelatory about themselves, say
Mm-hmm.
something, then it's just really boring, right? A lot of people are really guarded. And so it's just like, what's the point of talking? Um, so, I think as you have more of these experiences and you have more conversations, and obviously if you have another conversation with this guy, you'll know if it's just going to be one-sided or if you're going to get some airtime too. Because the relationship, even a friendship, has to be give and take. If you guys are
Mm-hmm.
both cherishing feelings and, you trade off on that, or if you're doing a feelings to thoughts people, then you trade off on that. Or if it's a feelings and a thoughts, you trade, that's usually a little easier to trade off on. But whatever it is, yeah, you got to get some airtime probably to express yourself. So just see how it goes. Are you going to see him again?
I know he's in that group, and I'm going to do the group on Sunday, so chances are he'll be there. But there was also a couple of other people that we talked right before in the group, and they seemed super neat people to get to know.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of open, but I would still pursue with him because he's a totally cool person too.
Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, let's just see how it pans out. And, you know, over time, I'm sure you're already aware of it, but I'm sure over time you'll get more information of on the data of the give and take that's happening.
Yeah. Okay. All
Sound good?
right. Stay tuned.
Okay. I look forward to your results. Thank you for sharing. Okay. I always thought it was weird for me to have feminine traits. It's good to know it's balance. Yes, it's a balance. Very much. Everybody's on this continuum. Okay. Okay. Raul.
Hi, Chloe. I was just wanted to know if I want to give try a crack at answering Wendy's question earlier. I don't know if you want me to comment on that or not.
Okay, let's hear what you have to say.
I think she was commenting about like masculine energy being more thoughtful, analytical, and I think like the feminine energy being more feelings. But the way I see it is, I look at it more as giving and receiving as the differences. And I think that the yang wants to be the giving to the receiver, the yin. And I think that if she just concentrates more on that, then I think she'd have more success in her,
Yes,
pulling something out of the date. Like even if you want like to be consoled, if the masculine identifies that you want to be consoled, then that's something that he can give. If it's not about fixing, it's just about giving and receiving, even on an emotional level.
That's a really good point. Yes, I agree. Excellent. Thank you for saying that.
All right, that's it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Women don't have to really work that hard on dates. Like I said, we're kind of in the listening mode. So, okay. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Chloe.
How are you? How can I help you?
I'm good, thanks. Well, I had a question. It's kind of hearing Chris say that about a guy talk too much about himself makes me want to ask the question, so what can I do? Because I had that happen at my regular place I go to. And it was interesting because I was about to leave because nothing was really presenting itself, I guess you'd say,
Right.
person. And then this guy sat down next to me and I was like, oh, okay, I'll stay a little longer. And
Right.
at first he seemed interesting and he asked a little bit about me, but oh my gosh, he just went on and on talking about himself. And it's what you said. I got bored. I was just like, okay, I was ready to go half an hour ago. No, I'm really ready. I just wanted to, and I needed to go to the bathroom. And I was just, all I could think was bathroom, out the door.
Right.
And that might have been a little rough, but what could I say to kind of get him to ask me something or get me? It was at the very
Okay,
end.
so there's
He's like, oh, my name is, and he wanted to shake my hand. I'm like, too late. I already wrote you off. I'm out of here. He should have said something way earlier. Even in the beginning, he could have said, hey, I'm Tom.
Right.
Whatever his name was.
Okay, so this was good. It was a good experience. It was a good exercise. You stayed,
Yes.
listened, you waited. Okay, so there's a couple things. So first of all, once you start feeling unhappy that you're there,
oh, yeah,
you need to do something, right? You need to cherish your feelings. You need to take an action.
I think it was, if I look back, I would have used, I need to use the bathroom I could have used that as an excuse.
Perfect.
And just said, hey, can you save my chair? I need to use the bathroom and I'll be back. I think I have a fear though of, oh, he'll leave or,
well, maybe he will.
Change.
Maybe he will.
Exactly. So what?
So whoever you with, if they can't sustain interest while you're in the bathroom, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
Yeah.
But so that's the first thing. So I always want you to cherish your feelings.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm a little, because I don't do that. I think about the other person.
Because you discount yourself and you ignore your feelings.
Yep.
And
I was trying to be nice to him.
Trying to be nice or whatever it is.
Waiting to see if he's going to ask for my number or anything. Yeah.
It's a really important part of this work. The feminine is doing that, is cherishing, being able to cherish your own feelings and being wary of discounting them. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, look, sometimes guys start to go on and they don't know how to stop, especially if they're nervous and it's the first time they're talking to you or the first couple times.
Yes.
That's why I say the duty dating, the 3 dates, because sometimes I have had many men come to me when they're just like, I don't know when to stop talking. I don't know when to stop. So again, going to the bathroom would have at least interrupted it. right?
Yeah.
I've even talked to men who are like that with other men, who are like, I can't get out of the conversation. I can't stop talking. I get Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is, again, nervousness can make you keep talking about yourself
Mhm.
and can get you a little myopic. So ideally, but I understand you were turned off, but ideally, you could have given him a chance and then seen how he was on a date. You know what I'm
I
saying?
know. Yeah. But I
By that time, you
I
had to go to the bathroom.
crossed that point of caring anymore. Now my
Right.
need was to use the bathroom. You know,
Right, right. So you see how that didn't lead, like,
yeah, it's too bad. If things had been different, if I cherished my feelings and after
yeah.
15 minutes said, "Hey, I need to use the bathroom, I'll be back."
It would have been interesting just to see what his reaction was. If you got back from the bathroom and he
Yeah.
goes, okay, so then I graduated college and then I went to work, then you're just like,
Yeah.
fuck.
He was really excited and happy about what I thought was hearing himself talk. But now hearing you is he probably was just excited. Maybe he hadn't talked to a woman in a while, but paid attention or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's just, again, that's why I say the 3 dates, because it can be nerve-wracking when you like someone. And sometimes it's hard to put your best foot forward when you're nervous.
Yes.
Okay, so that's my comment on that.
And as far as do I say I didn't need to use the bathroom or didn't need to leave, how do I interject so that he asks something about me or gives me a chance to talk?
Well, you were uncomfortable with what he was doing. So regardless of whether or not you had to go to the bathroom or you had to be home at a certain time, you wanted to leave, but you were uncomfortable because he was not listening to you. So
Right.
just had to interfere with something. So you could have said, oh my God, that's the funniest story. I really enjoyed talking to you. I do have to get home right now. But thank you so much for, da 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 da. And then just see if he then said, oh, let me get your number or whatever.
Right. Give him like a little preparation for closure.
Right. Give him a little stroke so he knows you're not rejecting him.
Oh yeah.
But you're just interrupting this flow that he's in. Right. So it's not really a rejection, but you're just kind of stepping in and going, okay, that's gone on a bit long, but not being an asshole, just being like, just being like, for your own cherishing, just like a little signal.
Yes. Right. I wasn't cheering myself. He wasn't cherishing me. No wonder I wanted to leave.
Right. Exactly.
No,
exactly. And then that built, I think
fair.
that's what torpedoed it, because you started to feel resentful. Even though you hadn't expressed your feelings, you were resentful that he wasn't cherishing them. So that's why you lost patience on him a little faster. But that's okay.
And I got nervous. Yeah.
You got nervous closure. Too. Yeah. That's why we do the duty dating. That's the practice part.
Okay. So
really, I mean, every story, every time you make an update, we're getting closer.
Hope so. Ay. Hard.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah. Also, as an update, on another outing, I went to go check out a place I thought might be because I need sort of another place maybe to kind of do my hour of sitting or whatever. So I went to check out a place, and even though it wasn't, I was like, no, this isn't going to work. I saw another place on my way, and I was like, oh, I'll go back to that place now and check it out. And
I love that.
I had to force myself. It wasn't easy.
I
just wanted to go
it's
home.
hard. We get into our familiar rut.
Checking out kind of 3 places. One, I was like, oh, that's a nice coffee shop. I'm going to come back on the weekend, and check it out.
Good. Okay, so you guys who don't know this, what Susan's talking about, what we're talking about is doing the 5 flirts, and she's talking about doing her 1 flirt that she's going to do seated, or maybe you're going to do more than one, but at least one flirt where you seat yourself somewhere, you go alone, go to a place where you like the look of the people, you think the people are interesting, you might meet someone. She's looking at these coffee shops. I've had people go to dog parks, golf courses, whatever. Plant yourself for 45 minutes to an hour so that somebody can approach you, or you can approach somebody, depending if you're feminine or masculine. And they can have a chance, you can have a chance to like have a conversation. So that's what Susan's talking about. She's finding her seated flirt places. Okay, well, good work. I'm excited to hear what happens next.
Okay, thanks, Chloe.
You're welcome. Thanks for sharing. Okay, we have a little bit of time left. Helen, how can I help you?
Hi, Chloe.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. What's going on?
I was a little confused about something you said versus something my therapist has been working with me on, and it has to do with when you're on a date. She's telling me that I should be the one doing the interviewing, and she's all about empowerment and taking action, because I've had issues of falling into like patterns of learned helplessness and being too passive, losing myself in relationships. And
Right. So she wants to bring out some of your masculine side.
right, but it kind of contradicts, your advice. And I'm just barely starting to chat with people online, for online dating, and I'm kind of new to it. And I'm just curious, like, should I be asking a lot of questions, or should I let, even just through chatting?
There's not there's not a right or wrong answer. It really has to do with what you want and who you are. And you can try it both ways. But
Okay.
if you want to be in the feminine energy and you want your feelings cherished, then your
Which I
way
do.
of discovering about the other person, at least initially, is going to be through listening. And certainly if something hits you wrong and you need clarification, absolutely ask.
Okay.
But if you take the role of interviewing, then you are naturally going to be encountering people, choosing people, having longer interactions with people who also want their feelings cherished. And so you're going to have to cherish their feelings and get your thoughts respected, because you're the
Okay.
one taking control. You're the one asking the questions. You're the one putting them through their paces. I completely understand why she's telling you that, because or he is concerned about this, that your masculine side is not taking care of your feminine side.
Right. And I've really, like, I was in an 18-year relationship and marriage. Then the first guy I dated, I ended up in a long-term relationship with him. Then the next guy I dated, I ended up in a almost 10-year relationship with him. And she's like, you want them to like you, but you don't even evaluate if you like them. And like, you're just ending up in relationships because they showed interest in you. You didn't evaluate if they're what you want. So
Right. But
so
that's
ask.
something that can happen in turn. You know what I mean? Like, that's something, I mean, I get what she's saying. But that's something that can happen without you asking questions.
Yeah.
Right? You can learn about somebody without asking them a direct question.
That's a good point.
And in fact, a lot of times when you do ask people direct questions, you don't get a straight answer, because ultimately people are about their deeds, right? They can say a lot of great stuff, but if their words don't line up with their deeds, it doesn't really matter what they say. I did a reel on that today, which is like sometimes people are kind of playing this game where they're like, well, you got to separate the person from their behavior. You actually don't got to do that, because people are the sum of their behaviors.
Right.
So I'm
Okay.
all for you being aware and being in the situation but I think it's kind of like you can approach it either way. You know, if you're cherishing your feelings and if you make him aware of your feelings and he's not cherishing them, or you're cherishing, you know what I'm saying? Then you are going to know that he's not right for you. Right?
Right.
It's
Right.
gonna be okay for him to take control if he's cherishing of you. He can take
Okay.
care of you if he cares about how you feel. If he
Right.
doesn't, then he's a controlling jerk. So either way, you're gonna find out. And if you want a more masculine person, my only thing is I suggest you listen more than you question. You can question it in your mind and come to me and talk about it, and you can talk to your girlfriends about it. But especially when you first meet somebody, if you're going to be like directly questioning him,
Yeah.
you might end up in a power struggle with somebody that you might otherwise like. And so that's just what I want you to avoid, because you are kind of authentically feminine energy. You know, that's my impression of you so far. And
Yeah.
I want to see
Okay.
you get your feelings cherished. And obviously you have to be conscious enough of your feelings to have that happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is okay though to ask some questions naturally.
Yeah, I mean, you know, nobody does it perfect. You don't have to do, you know, it all the time. It's just if you come out, sometimes if you come out with too many questions in the beginning, or you take control too much, you either scare the guy off if he's masculine because he doesn't want to have a power struggle, right?
Right.
Or if he's an alpha and he can kind of go one way or the other, you start to set the blueprint that you're the one in control and you're the one who's going to be doing all the work. And if that's what you want, that's fine. But it's going to be hard then for you to get he's going to get confused if he then, look, you can do it that way, especially as you get older. Sometimes you have to finesse it a little bit, where if you start with an idea, then he responds with the feeling, and if he starts with an idea, then you respond with the feeling. And when you get more into the relationship, you can finesse it a little bit more.
Okay.
But like in the beginning, it's hard to switch it up too much because it's confusing for him mainly.
Right.
Because remember, men have
Okay.
that single-minded thing.
Right. Okay.
If they're like, holy shit, what, you know, and the other thing is that, you know, I know that you guys aren't real eager to show your vulnerability to men because you've been hurt in the past. But the right man is going to cherish you. Like Raul was saying, the right man is going to want to give to you. And he's going to get something out of that, because men need to do good to feel good, and women need to feel good to do good. So that's how the complementary energies work. And if you're not, so in a sense, if you're asking questions and you're taking control and you're doing all that, you're not really getting out of it what he could be getting. You know what I'm saying? That's the
Yes. And
dystonia there.
it is confusing because I'm extremely logical, analytical. I'm like very educated science nerd, but then I really do want my feelings cherished.
Right.
So
So, you can use that whole science side in your work, with your colleagues, or even with your friends if you want, and, maybe occasionally too with your partner. But in the conflicts or the awkward situations, you want to be taking that more receptive role.
okay, great.
You can get your feelings cherished primarily.
Thank you, Chloe.
You're welcome. I hope that answered your question. Okay, I'm going to put into the chat one more time my credentials if you guys want to connect with me during the week. I plan on being back here next week, of course. And if you have questions, you can reach out to me. In the meantime, we can set up a session. I work with men, I work with couples, I work with women, I work with teenagers. So we can set up a private, you can set up for one of the modules. And this session will be recorded, so you can check it out on my podcast as well, or on YouTube. And if I don't hear from you, I will see you next week. Bye.